What's up, guys? Welcome back to this episode of Alim's podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. We have Matt Gallant on the podcast. Matt is the CEO of Biooptimizers and Nootopia, two incredible brands for human optimization, biohacking, supplementation. I personally have been taking Nootopia for about 2 years now, and they're actually one of the podcast sponsors on the podcast. Amazing nootropic with some incredible customizable options. You guys are probably used to seeing that ad on the podcast, but you're going to hear about him today and what went into the production of that and why it's just so unique, as well as their new packaging and anything this mastermind wants to talk about in the supplementation realm. Matt, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, man. You've been an awesome guy to work with. Your video production is just amazing. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that. So Matt, you're living right now from the cold winters of Canada. Where are you at these days?
I've been in Panama for 19 years. So I was born on the east coast of Canada in a small village in a small province called New Brunswick. And, started reading business books as a teenager, which created a lot of angst to get out because, my parents my dad was a machinist. My mom was a secretary at a bank, and there's just no entrepreneurial spirit in my family. And it's pretty rare in general in that area. So yeah, that angst really drove me to get out. Got my degree in kinesiology, started training people when I was 19. So I built 2 personal training companies, one in Moncton, where I'm from. And then I moved to Vancouver, BC, and built another one there. And during that time, I was studying marketing, studying copywriting, studying internet marketing. I built my first online business in 2002. My first success was actually a skincare product. I had a personal training client that owned a skincare product manufacturing company. And she's like, I can create something really special for you. So yeah, that was my first hit. Then a couple of years later, we started you could call it the predecessor to Biooptimizers. Our first product was called Freaky Big Naturally. It was a natural bodybuilding book. My partner Wade was winning national bodybuilding championships as a vegetarian, which I thought was really unique and weird.
Yeah.
20 years before the plant-based movement came about. And 2005, we launched our first enzyme blend, which is still our second best-selling product, Masszymes.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, we rebranded to Biooptimizers. It's just been a rocket ride ever since.
Yeah, it's been huge. I mean, this is something I heard about Biooptimizers a lot before I actually came across your product myself, but I'd heard about it. And when I got in and started seeing the ecosystem and everything you guys had, it's not a traditional supplement company where you think about like supplement companies. How I was introduced to supplements was from reading like Muscle Magazine in high school, '02. And it's like Cellucor stuff and like Hydroxycut, Jacked 3D. You think about supplements and everything's based on just like pure aesthetics, like getting a pump or a stimulant that gets you jittery and burns fat. And so something like Biooptimizers is more like, hey, let's get you internally healthy and make your body function better. And I really like that, that side of it a lot.
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest emerging markets is people that just really want to optimize their health. So obviously it's what we're all about, biological optimization.
Yeah. And it's amazing when you think about how fast something can grow on the internet, right? Talking about 2002 skincare line, like nowadays, like everyone loves the idea of like a drop shipping product. And sure, some people can hit it on their first time, but it's not always like that for everyone. It takes a lot of trial and error. And then you get to the point where like, hey, once you have something, then it really starts to run wild and go.
Yeah. So I'm assuming there's a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this show. So I think it's worth highlighting the struggles because, the successes can make it appear as if it was just magical.
Yeah.
My first product online. So let me rewind. 1997, I sold my first product online, which was a training program. That was a one-time sale though. And it was off a Newsnet group, which if you haven't been on the internet, if you weren't on the internet in 1997 to 2000, you probably don't even know what that is. It was kind of a predecessor to forums and things like that. But then she actually built me a self-tanning lotion.
Okay.
Launched that, and that was unprofitable. So that didn't work. And then John Carlton, who's a great copywriting mentor, was my mentor, and had this program where you could write copy and send it to him and he would give you feedback. And he kicked my ass. I mean, I was sending him copy and he was just shredding me. That's just how. And then finally, after a few months, I sent him the letter that launched the skincare product with. He's like, this is really, really good. And it works. So, it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of honing in the skills before the success started to happen. And I think the other big thing is in 2002 to I'd say 2008, 9, it was not that competitive. Now you want to launch a business, you're competing against a lot of other smart marketers, smart brands. So the level has just risen, and it's really been interesting to see a lot of my peers just not be able to continue evolving with the times. They figured out some loophole on some app platform in 2008 and crushed it for a couple of years, and then once the platform rules change or the loophole's gone, a lot of guys just haven't been able to keep up. But to me, the core of everything is just creating phenomenal products. I've
Yeah.
created over 100 products. One of my bigger successes before Bioptimizers was a company called Guitar Control. Still around today. It was one of the biggest instructional music companies in the world online. We have over 80 courses, and YouTube came along and crushed that market. Of course, then you had masterclass.com that came about and said, well, let's get celebrities and
Teach their shit and
teach their shit. So
use their
that's the
following. Yeah.
market. And that's a key point. It's like the markets are always evolving, both from the product side as well as the prospects. Everybody who's buying products, are their taste, what they're looking for, their buying criteria is just getting more and more sophisticated. So from a product creation perspective or service creation perspective, you need to be one step ahead of the game. Otherwise, you're just going to get out competed.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I started off entrepreneurial in 2015 selling online fitness apparel, like leggings, sports bras. Like, just as my ex-wife, we had a company, and it went really well through influence marketing, because through competing professionally in jiu-jitsu, I was able to connect with a lot of athletes, people that had like big followings, some professional football players. And during that time, it was easy to just leverage Instagram. So at that time, you knew a couple of influencers, they were repping your products. You could get 17, 20 sales a day off of them making a post. And I remember one Super Bowl Sunday, it must have been 2016 Super Bowl. We posted that we had 100 limited edition leggings, and we sold them all during Super Bowl before the game was over, just from launching it right then and there. And I was like, man, we're really on to something here, And then like all the entrepreneurial struggles we went through was like, we had to deal with the keeping products in stock, reordering, delays, and it ended up just switching directions and doing something different. I think what that company helped me learn how much I prefer digital marketing. And so I really went into my agency, and I was like, hey, let me just help other professionals shoot their ads. And I'm very grateful for our agencies that now. And our online product is a course that we sell. We sell a course to our niche agent, which is real estate agents. But there's a lot of lessons. And going back to what you said, definitely a lot of young entrepreneurs that tune into this. So I always like get people, try to give them the advice and really the story, which is that it is not easy. And it's easy to get on Instagram and you can see someone post a McLaren or a Ferrari, or they're going on a private plane. And it's like, dude, like it's not like that for most people. And that, as well as I've done those things and I have friends who have those things, that's like part of it, but that's not the day-to-day. The day-to-day sometimes is like 17 hours in front of a computer screen, and money going missing and clients falling off. And like, there's a lot of little fires you can wake up to. I think the best way I heard it was a guy said to me on the sandbar this weekend, they had this gorgeous boat. And I was chatting with him, and he owns a company. And he was like, I think what I had to accept, Tony, was when I realized what entrepreneurship was, is he's like, when there's a good day, just really enjoy the good days. He's like, because you can wake up on a Sunday to 10 huge problems at any given time. And it's all, you just learn to like not even emotionally react. You just start chipping away at solving them, This episode of the 8 Limbs Podcast gets brought to you by Nootopia. Nootopia is an amazing nootropic solution for any entrepreneurs or high producers out there that are looking for a solution besides the traditional Adderall or Alpha Brain. Nootopia is a fully customizable box with 12 different compounds. I have personally been taking this for years. I have my entire team taking this as well, and it is an absolute game changer. There's some days you want to be social. There's some days you want to lock in and get focused data entry work, and Nootopia has a solution for you on any day. Use code Salazar to save 10% off.
Yeah, I think there's a genetic element to being an entrepreneur. There's a great book called Driven by Doug Brackman. He was a SEAL and chatted with him several times. And there seems to be genes that some of us have, and people with those genes are usually typically either salespeople, they're entrepreneurs, they're pro
Mm,
athletes, they're hunters.
there's something different there. Yeah.
So, if you're listening to this and you just have that entrepreneurial bug and you want to go out there and do stuff, then you're probably one of us. Um, I think that all you need to do to get started is one great product and one channel. And that's important to highlight. Like at this point, Boptimizers were in 10 different channels. We're expanding into retail, all that
Yeah.
stuff. But all you need really for the first 6 to 12 months is hyper focus to nail one channel.
Yeah.
I think the challenge though is which channel do you pick? And I think that's where strategically people make a lot of mistakes. So for an example, if you do have the personality to be an influencer, then could be a great channel for you. Not everybody's got that personality. You almost need that need for validation. Like I'm friends with a lot of pretty big influencers, guys that have millions of followers, and they feed off of it. Their dopamine system just loves the comments, the likes, the like all of it, right? For
Yeah.
them, it's oxygen. I
And
don't have.
sometimes even the bad stuff, they love it because they get to go
Yeah,
chime in and be like, okay, yeah, keep talking about us, right? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I don't have that. I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care about recognition that much. So, for me, it's just not a channel that I'm interested in, and it would not be a good channel for me to focus on. Whereas pay-per-click, for an example, I was doing pay-per-click before Google. I mean, Overture was a
Oh,
predecessor, and I just have the brain for it. I've just got the natural kind of mathematical, analytical, split testing capabilities. I've run about 20,000 A/B tests in my career. So,
wow.
those are environments that I thrive in. I know super nerds that can crush it on SEO. They've got that even more analytical mind, and they're very good operationally. So there's certain skill sets that you need to really crush it on a channel. And I think if you can understand what your strengths are, and I think one of the best advice I can give anyone is do every personality test that's available. Do
Yeah.
Colby, Strength Finder, all of them. Like there's, maybe 10 or 12 that are good tests. And what I found was every test helped me understand my nature a little bit better. And then I was able to change how I operated, and as well as what kind of people do I need. I'm not good at micromanaging people. I'm a visionary, I'm a strategist. So I need people that are just amazing integrators, people that are really good at, the executional side. And that was transformative. I struggled for many years because I was trying to be an operator and trying to be an integrator, and it was just painful.
Mm.
So I
That's
think,
huge awareness that you have. That's huge. And that takes a lot of people a lot of mistakes to figure that out. You
yeah,
know?
personality test is a massive shortcut.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, say I'm a no guess. I'm not sure what you are. I'm an ENTJ when it comes to the Myers-Briggs, and I'm
I'm INTJ.
yeah, I was gonna guess that as well because you're not super extroverted, but
Yeah.
probably the same type of thing, analytical. And what there's a book that I actually heard from Layla Hormozi and Alex Hormozi, which I love. It was a short audiobook, and it's called Managing Oneself. And it's very similar to that. And the gist is, hey, you want to make some business moves, but you got to first know who the hell you are. So learn on how you operate. And so don't try to be a builder if you're not a builder. If you're a visionary, be the visionary and find a great builder or builders under you. So I think that's a mistake I learned too. And I can attest to that, what you just said, which is that I've had this business for a decade and we made our biggest strides in the last 2 years since I started hiring people to do the things that I sucked at. So like the things that I sucked at would be exactly like this morning, follow-up chains with emails and tightening up all the loose ends and documentation and taxing and employee payroll. And there's just so many little small things that I wouldn't get to. But what I'm great at is making connections, making sales, and figuring out where I'm steering the ship. And I was like, if I can just do that all day and have everyone else do what they're good at, and it's been huge. We 8x our business in a 6-month period from just bringing in staff in the same exact business, So it just kind of it is definitely a test to that. So let's steer it to the supplementation part now, because this is something that, that's how you and I first connected. Like my background is in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I traced it back on one of our podcasts recently with a Navy SEAL, Mitch Aguilar. He owns a supplement company as well. to like where this started for me. And I was like, it really started with jujitsu, but I started jujitsu in 2006 before there was a lot of YouTube content. It wasn't really popular then. And so it was really just Joe Rogan talking about it. And it's like Joe Rogan's like the father to so many things now when you really think about it, because think about how many things he put on the map. Like he made jujitsu a household thing that everyone, even if you don't train it, everyone knows what it is from him.
Mm-hmm.
Cold plunging, bow hunting, what's that?
Psychedelics.
Psychedelics, fleshlight from the original podcast, right? But nootropics for sure, he talked about them first. And so I traced it back to that. And I was like, yeah, I started looking at nootropics. And that's one of the first pieces of content I made for Nootopia, was that when I started off with nootropics, it was Alpha Brain. That was the first one I'd ever heard of. And I was actually sponsored by Onnit at the time too. So I was getting products sent out to me. It was more Shroom Tag and their hemp protein. But of course, I would use my credits for Alpha Brain sometimes. And I liked it. And then I tried Qualia, and then I tried Genius Conscious. I tried all these supplements, but I'm like, man, it's like one thing. It's like, and something that you and I spoke about before is very different. Today I'm doing podcasting, and there's days where I'll teach a virtual webinar to real estate agents here, but there's some days where I'll go speak on stage to 100 agents, or I'll go to a networking meeting, and I'm going to be very social and talk to a lot of high level professionals. There's different desired feelings I want to have for those days. So the days that I want to be extroverted and social and kind of hyper are not going to suit me if I'm sitting at home trying to get data entry work or work done, right? I know you're smiling because you're like, yeah, we cracked the code on that one. And so it's like something like Nootopia is like, man, that is what I've been looking for, where you have options within one box and you can decide, hey, what's today got in store for me? Look at your schedule. I know my stack for today. And for people who like to kind of tweak that, it's perfect for us, you know?
Yeah, which is a great segue into one of my favorite topics, which is state optimization. So I used to train MMA. This is like 97. We training with the SEAL, trained for 7 years with them. And that's where I really learned state optimization. I mean, at that time we were training primarily self-defense. I mean, hardcore kind of life and death scenarios. And his whole thing, I mean, one of his main things psychologically was you need to be able to shift states in a split second from normal to, the state you need to be in.
It's go time.
Yeah, it's go time. It's again, a very high level sympathetic state. So that started my journey, kind of just understanding the ability to do those shifts. And over time, as I got into neurochemistry, I realized like every state has different neurochemicals that kind of amplify it. So for an example, if you're doing jujitsu, you probably don't want to be overly amped. You want to be amped, but what happens, and there's some great research from the 70s with, again, my teacher used to talk about this all the time. It's called Yerke Dotson. And they did this really fascinating research on high performance. And what happens is when people get overly stressed, their performance crashes. If they're not stressed enough, their performance crashes. So there's an optimal zone.
Those states in the middle. Yeah.
It is. And so that's a really important model to understand, and that you can shift your adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, and bump yourself up if you need to. For a lot of people, and this is important, I think for entrepreneurs especially, we're naturally like on the highly driven side. So a lot of times, using something like magnesium breakthrough is actually a high performance thing, because if you're already hyper driven, you might need to actually shift down a notch, and you'll actually be performing better than if you're trying to amp yourself. And then, like you said, in social situations, you want more serotonin, more GABA. Those things will actually increase your emotional intelligence, and it will increase your ability to connect with people. For focus, it's acetylcholine, and back to alpha brain. That's why it was so transformative at the time, because it was just a great acetylcholine product. And when you run out of acetylcholine, your ability to focus is just compromised. And then obviously you got dopamine, which we have a product called Dopa Drops. So for people,
that's one of my favorites, dude, for sure.
Yeah, it's been a real home run, and people just love that product.
Well, how would you describe it? Because that's a newer product that we've been getting, and I have my staff here that takes this stuff too. So our team takes it, so it's not just me, and we get feedback. And it's interesting because for instance, a product which used to be called Focus Savagery is now called Ultimate Focus. For me, what it reminds me of is how Adderall used to make me feel. And I took Adderall I was ADHD my whole life. So I was prescribed it and I was pretty much forced to take it until I graduated high school. And afterwards, I really began to despise it because I realized like throughout high school, Adderall had me introverted. It had me actually doubting my erections too, as like a young man that's like insecure with my sexual condition, thinking like, why is this happening? Not understanding the amphetamine. No one explained these things to me. That lack of appetite, all the things that happen with the amphetamine. And some people love it. So it's like me, I had to take it and I hated it. And you got the other side where so many kids were trying to buy Adderall on the black market because they loved it. It made them hyper. It did not affect me that same way. So something like Ultimate Focus, like almost everyone that I know that's tried it loves that product. They love it. For me, I take it and I'm like, I don't want to be this locked in because it makes me just like shut down. I don't talk to anyone and I just want to go like crunch numbers and look right. That's not how my days flow these days. But Dopa Drops combined with Upbeat, for me, that stack, I am like in such a good mood, like almost like borderline silly and goofy all throughout the day, but like silly and goofy about getting shit done. If that makes any sense. Like I'm not like trying to go do nothing, but I'm like, all right, let's do this, let's try this. I don't care, let's try it. And it puts me in the best state. So was that how you would describe that sensations that people feel from Dopa Drops?
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a really good point, which is, cocaine and Adderall are asshole drugs. And the reason is they crank your dopamine, your adrenaline, your noradrenaline so high that you just become hyper tunnel vision and your ability to connect with people gets severely compromised, right? People can become sociopaths if they just keep using a lot of amphetamines. It's a pretty well-known side effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Upbeat is a great serotonin mood booster. And then when you stack Dopa Drops has like 3 different layers of dopamine. So with a lot of the formulations, we're trying to target kind of an immediate effect and then also a little bit later. So you're kind of getting things in stages. We want it to be kind of a long lasting wave. And that's a really important point is you want to time your nootropics with your life events. So for an example, I took nootropics about 90 minutes before the show. So they're hitting me right now. So I'm optimized for this conversation. So literally every day I look at my calendar, I'm like, what do I need to take based on my calendar? That's such a great strategy.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the day gonna hold? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, what's the day going to hold for you? And a point that I don't want to move past, that I don't want to forget to go back to, was what you were saying about jiu-jitsu. So interesting. I trained for 17 years. I competed. That was my life. It was really my life, Matt. It's hard to explain that to someone that doesn't know, but for you and other people that understand what dedication is, like it was my thing. I was obsessed. I probably trained 10 times a week. I was there morning and night. And then when I wasn't training, I was obsessing and either doing seminars or watching YouTube or instructional videos, right? And then finding buddies to come to my house to train in my garage. Competed a lot.
I understand the obsession. Yeah.
Yeah. It led me to a lot of good things. And I thought about that recently when I left jiu-jitsu. It was when I had this huge confidence to really plow into entrepreneurship, because I realized like just achieving my black belt under the coach I got it from and the team that I got it from, it's 2% of people make it to black belt that train. So 99 out of 100 guys didn't even make it to where I got. So it was this huge boost of like, yo, look, you can accomplish something. And not because natural talent, because of sheer determination, you just won't quit. You just keep showing up, and after a while, nothing wants to stand in front of you anymore. And that was like huge for me. But I had a nerve injury that caused me to take the last year off. So for the last year, it was the first time in 17 years I haven't been training jiu-jitsu. I haven't had it in my life. And I've been doing things like boxing, which I could do with not a lot of power, and just training my way around the injury, but I wasn't able to really train. I needed this thing to heal. It was actually a stratus anterior and long thoracic injury from a disc herniation that I had. So I'm about 80% back now. My first day of training was yesterday, in over a year. And it was amazing to be back on those mats. And I'm going in the training and I'm about to pull into 7-Eleven. And I just got done with the road bike ride and I was feeling a little sluggish. I got water and I was like, do I want to grab some caffeine? And then right away I started thinking, I'm like, no, dude, you're not going to lift weights. Like that's the opposite of how I want to feel. I don't want any heart rate rising when I'm training. So the point you were making is like, for something like jiu-jitsu, and this is when I used to love taking nootropics for training. You want to think clearly, but you want to be in flow state with your heart rate as low as possible. So when I think about the optimum state for BJJ, when I would be having those sessions that were truly I was in flow state, I was awake and I had energy in my body, but I was not tense and I was breathing so calmly and I could sustain a consistent pace for like 45 minutes in rolls. And it's like that's a misconception that people have. They think about going and do something because they associate like weightlifting with martial arts training. Martial arts training, you'd be so much better served to be in flow state where you're not, everything's not so forced and so things are more
Mhm.
like slow and serene and almost gentle, for lack of a better way to put it. And I'm looking forward to stacking some different Nootopia products as I start getting back on the mat and seeing which is going to be my master stack for that.
Here's what I'd recommend. Call a genius about 90 minutes before for the BDNF, which will maximize your learning, and then probably a brain flow like an hour before.
Love it. I need to get some more College Genius. Actually, I don't have any more. I got that one sample you guys sent out, and I remember loving it. Right at the same time too, my girlfriend had bought in Mud Water, and they're similar products in a way where they could be marketed similarly. But I remember just taste wise, I was like, dude, College Genius actually tastes really, really good. That's why it went so fast in our house. It was gone. And it's funny because Zach, Biohack Zach, is a good buddy of mine. I still keep in touch with all the time. He lives here in the city. Every time, and it's funny because Zach's a hype person, but he speaks about College Genius in a way that I'm like, dude, like you don't have a brand deal yet. Like he nonstop talks about it. It's like, Tony, do not sleep on it. Do not sleep on it.
I'm
He's
going
like,
to tell
that
you the
is
same thing.
a special.
I've been using it every day. I mean, like months before we released
I need
it.
to get some more of it.
It's
Yeah.
like my staple, man. Every day.
What's the base of it? It's cordyceps.
It's cordyceps, reishi, chaga, lion's mane. So I'm a huge super fan of lion's mane. Have been for probably 7-8 years. However, I used to take 10 grams, which is a pretty high dose. Most people take 1-2 grams. You can
Yeah,
really, really push the dose on lion's mane. The lion's mane extracts we're using in this are just off the charts. I mean, they're
I
just,
love it. Lion's
yeah,
mane is a
that,
brain mushroom, correct? Just for the viewers, like when you think mushroom, cordyceps, I think about energy and like extended
yeah,
cardio and
yeah, more
movement
ATP.
and yeah, ATP. And lion's mane, I think about cognition, right, and like mental
Well,
production.
neurogenesis, which if you're trying to learn, that's what you want to try to hyper optimize. So, it is increasing BDNF, which is how neurogenesis is triggered. So yeah, lion's mane is amazing. On some more hardcore notes, I mean, cerebral lysin, which is the granddaddy of all brain growth factor products. You have to inject it. The Russians cracked the code on this. It's actually a pig brains extract, which I know sounds really weird,
No, I
but
love that.
yeah, no, it's a phenomenal nootropic, and we're going to be doing a brain training, for example, end of April. So I'll start a cerebral license cycle 30 days before to truly load my brain with as many growth factors as possible. You want to look at it like steroids. I mean, they're really like anabolic compounds for the brain. And then you train, and then we're training like 5 days, usually like 6-7 hours a day. So when you do that combination of saturating your brain with growth factors and you're training it with neurofeedback,
When
it's
you say
you talk
training,
about
can you clarify how you mean?
neurofeedback using a variety of neurofeedback devices. So neurofeedback is a technology which I think is going to truly start exploding over the next few years. It's actually old tech, but the devices are getting better and there's more and more capabilities coming out.
Almost
But
like the cold
essentially,
plunging movement, right? Cold plunging is something that's been around for thousands of years, but in the last 5 years, it's exploded as this like new thing, right?
yeah. So I know there's a lot of special forces doing neurofeedback, and again, a lot of high performers have been doing it. There's a device coming out on the market. I should connect you with them. You could probably use your services, but yeah, it's called Sensei.
Oh,
They're
I've heard
going
of
to, they're going to be releasing the first direct to consumer device that I think is amazing. It's a dream come true. You just need a mobile phone and you just put this on and start training. But what it does, your brain has no way to sense itself. So it essentially be like putting you in a pitch black room and saying, here's this weird exercise I want you to do. It's really difficult. And when people try to meditate, that's literally what they're doing. They have no way of sensing, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Okay, well, let me focus on this breathing thing or this mantra or whatever, right? But with neurofeedback, you give your brain a goal. For an example, you want to increase alpha brain waves. Okay, great. The machine will give you positive reinforcement as you're increasing your alpha brain waves. And when you're not, it'll take away the reinforcement. So you're getting audio feedback. Some neurofeedback is visual as well. And your brain is just learning second by second. Hey, this is how you increase alpha brain waves. This is how you increase theta brain waves, how you increase gamma brain waves. So there's all these really amazing different brain waves you can access. And back to states, every brainwave set is a completely different state of mind.
That's super cool. I've heard about those before. So just so we don't drift past College Genius, when you develop that product, would you suggest this being like someone's coffee replacement or added to the coffee, like a morning supplement?
Either or. I actually add it to coffee. It's got
that's what I was doing too.
Like an awesome mocha flavor. So, but yeah, a lot of people are using it as a substitute.
It's like chocolate. I was putting in there a little bit of MCTO and just kind of blending it up and making a coffee with the College Genius, and I loved it. It was like a chocolate coffee. It tasted amazing.
We got a salted caramel flavor coming out in a couple of months.
Yeah, I got to get some more of it. I got to reach out. I don't know who's the contact person now, but I'll reach out to you after. And I got to get more of that because we went through it so fast. I didn't even get a chance to really experience it, I think, because my girlfriend was drinking it every day and loving it. But that's something that's the problem. So when you talk about Nootopia right now, like, and first of all, actually, I think I want to show the guest this incredible box. Yeah, I got to show them this.
Go ahead, turn my camera. Pull me off for a sec. I'll stop my cam so you can.
Oh no, it's fine. We don't need to do that.
Okay.
There's no need because we're right here. We're split screen, guys. You just got to see this thing. So beyond the supplementation, what I think Matt has been a pioneer of is the packaging. So here's the box, and you guys are probably already seeing a podcast ad right now for this, but here's how Nootopia will arrive to you, right? And it's actually shipping in this box now, right? Or is it still shipping external?
Starting this month.
So you have just as you open this thing up, right? It's a work of art. It really is. So you open this thing up and look what you're greeted with inside of this. So every product, and Matt's just looking at his masterpiece as he's sitting here. Every product. So you have some products that are drink mixers, and they're going to be right here in this powder form. That's nectar and power solution. And the other products are going to be here. So you have your Xamarin juice, is an oral spray, and these are all capsules. But what I love so much about if you pull one of these capsule products out, which I'll try to show you guys here the best I can, it's like a magnetic wallet that opens up and tells you how to take it and what products to take it with. Easy to punch through. I know Matt's like, how does it look on someone else's screen? But it's insane. So this would just be a phenomenal, even like a gift for somebody. If you guys have somebody who's like into biohacking or nootropics or hyperproduction, this would just be the most unique gift they've ever received.
Yeah, if you have friends that are high performers and you just don't know what to buy them, this is a very cool gift.
No, for sure. I actually gave a buddy this for his birthday, a box of Nootopia for his 30th birthday. And it was like a high level entrepreneur dinner. And it was cool because I didn't think of it being like that. I gave it to him knowing he would love it. But the amount of people that were just like jealous around the table at dinner, like, dude, what is this? I want this. And they're trying to take his products from him on his birthday. You know, a lot of interest in the box. It wasn't even this new box yet. But when you think about something like Nootopia, like you had biooptimizers and that was its own thing for a while. And then you started developing Nootopia after the fact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get into this, like what were the reasons to go with so many different products? Like this is something I thought about for a while. Like when you're like, hey, I'm going to build a supplement company for brain supplements. Why did you say, hey, we need to have more than one? Why not just go one that so many companies do?
First of all, it'd be much better from a business perspective just to have one.
That's what I'm asking.
You know, so operationally, this is far more challenging. But the answer is a couple things, mainly genetics. So some people have neurochemical deficiency. I mean, everybody's got some level of, you could say, a neurochemical deficiency. You and I, for an example, we're genetically overclocking on dopamine. That's our superpower genetically. Some people don't have that. So for them, a dopa drop can just be a life-changing supplement. You know, if you go from Yeah, if you go from being
Continue.
dopamine deficient to dopamine optimized, your life will change. For some people, I'm naturally more serotonin GABA deficient. So when I increase my serotonin, I just feel like the best version of myself. I just do. And my ability to connect with people goes up, my ability to be extroverted goes up. So figuring that out, we do have a test you can do. There's a quiz you can do on the website. It's
I
kind
love
of a
that.
simple quiz, but it is actually relatively accurate in terms of the ballpark. So that's one reason. The second reason is what you brought up earlier, which is you need different blends to optimize you for different situations. So
Yeah.
there's no one blend that's going to do it all. So for an example, Xamarin Juice, which is an instant chill on demand. It's a GABA product. So that's great for that. Or a Gabalicious, which is a great alcohol alternative, great for evenings, not necessarily what you'd want before a jiu-jitsu fight. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
there's just different blends for different situations. And then we personalize. So you do a very deep intake form. We look at it, we read it, and then we do our best to make sure you get the right blend based on your profile. And then it doesn't stop there. You give us feedback and say, that was too much, that was not enough. We will tweak it the following month so we can continue tweaking and optimizing. And then you can also pull out products you didn't like and double down on the ones you loved. So this
Dude,
is complete customization and personalization.
I have to jump in on that because that's so funny. It's my negligence. I didn't know that was an option. So we just receive a box, monthly. And so we love our products. We take them. And there's some that I prefer more than others, like I explained. And so I had never fully logged into the app. And then once we did that, I was like, what? Like, it's so amazing. You can just go on your app and say, I want more of this, less of this, done, next shipment, ready to go in the queue. I mean, like, for me to be a customer for so long and not even know, I was like, well, that's just one more reason to love it. But that's so huge to have. So I would highly suggest everyone get the box as it comes and try every product and really see which ones you love. And I think it's same way, like, I don't know how many people here who've indulged in cannabis edibles, but for years I had friends who, like, they can say they'll eat an edible and they don't feel it at all. Where if I had half of that same cookie, I'm like, I don't even want to leave my home, and I'm like, really, really stoned off of it. And there's something I've been like, what is that? And then I recently learned that some people don't have a certain gene or receptor to digest it. Some
Correct.
people don't. So it's similar to that. Like, I think we all hear it so much, but it is true. Certain things just affect people differently. I got a buddy who can't even take a cup of coffee. I could have 4 cups of coffee in a day and I wouldn't even seem anxious. Not at once, but everyone just got different tolerances for things. So I hyper suggest everyone try the products out and see which one really works for them. And then, there's days that I don't take Nootopia. On a weekend day, I kind of like clean my system out, but it's something that I definitely, when I travel, we did a Texas trip, a business trip, and we actually went on one of our clients' private jets out to Texas. So it was this very high level business trip. We were hired to film him doing something. Actually can't even disclose it because we had his NDAs. He's doing something pretty cool. But of course, that was like one of the first things we're packing is like, we better be on our shit this whole trip. And we packed a whole slew of Nootopia products they brought with us. It's something
Yeah,
I don't want to figure out without.
I just came back from Expo West, and it's long days. And Apex is probably my favorite for an all day. I just need to be on my game for 8-10 hours. So I was in Apex every day, and then in the afternoon, the brain flow upbeat. Just felt awesome.
And how would you describe the Focus Savage or Ultimate Focus? Ultimate Focus now is what you guys are referring to it as.
Yeah.
That's most of people's favorite. So I've given this box to all the entrepreneurs that we use for our commercial, and we use some high-level producers, guys that are in the high 6, low 7-figure earners that are, in the 30s, very full days. So I thought about good people that would be appropriate for this, and all of them were like, dude, that's the one. That's the one. And for me, that's like my least personal favorite. And I think it's because it does make me feel how I used to not like to feel. But how would you describe that product?
Yeah, it's designed for hyper focus. It's designed to be kind of tunnel vision. If you're on your computer working on spreadsheets, doing marketing campaigns, writing, I mean, that's what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
So it's great for that. Apex will give you that length of focus, but it's bringing a little bit more serotonin, so you're not as tunnel vision. You're a little more connected to people.
Yeah, it's funny. David Cruz, who's one of the guys we used, he's a financial advisor and he places like high net worth investments. So he would be like putting $1 million investment in front of his clients and he'd research that for like a week before. And exactly that, crunching numbers and hyper fixating on the market. So that's probably why he loves it, because he's like, dude, I'm just locked into these numbers right now, and it makes total sense,
Yep. That's what it's designed
for
to
me
do.
it is a little faster. So what's next right now with Nootopia, besides this amazing new box? No, that's really what's next. And Biooptimizers, like, what do you guys have going on? Any expos coming up, events, new product launches?
We have 35 things in the queue.
Yeah, always, right?
And yeah, we have like a 25-year vision. I mean, you give me $10 billion today, we're just accelerating timelines, this is what I feel I'm here to do. And I'm just loving it and just getting more and more fun. I will say this. We talked about kind of the struggle part of the entrepreneurial phase. And I'm not saying that there's not challenges as you grow. There's always new challenges. But there is a point where you've got enough people. We have 120 employees at this point, and I've never had more fun because all I'm like 80, 90% of what I'm doing is just stuff that I love to do and I'm good
Yeah,
at and I can create value. So
you're building a culture.
yeah, it's fun, man.
Yeah. And you guys have a culture. Everyone I've met started to cut you through
Yeah.
Nootopia and Biooptimizers. There was an original group of like filmmaker influencers. We were all added to this group chat together. And it's like people all over the place. And it's like everyone's cool as hell. I still follow her on Instagram. We still engage with each other. And it's like people that I met through the community of Biooptimizers that I still am like, man, these people that I would actually hang out with. And you guys all know me, if you know my content, I am a huge like advocate to really tighten up your personal circle. I'm not the guy that's going to be hanging out with everybody. Like I really vet my friends, people you spend time with, people you absorb sticky energy with all day. So the people that I've met through Biooptimizer are people that I would hang out with. And I think what they're about as far as their morals and their ethics are like really in line. So I can see that, but you're building something really unique there, and 120 employees, it's a lot. That's an army, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We've just been in hyper growth for many years. On the Nootopia side, yeah, the big thing we're working on is robotics. So we have a full-time roboticist that's literally building robots. And the reason we're building robots is because we want to take the personalization to the next level. So what we think is the next dimension is a genetic test where all the things we kind of mentioned, for example, slow caffeine metabolizer, blah, 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 we can start making much more precise modifications to a blend, and then the robot can build it.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so yeah, so that's big. We've got some new products, but yeah, we're looking at increasing our accuracy on really nailing the formulas for people. And it's a long game. It's going to take us a long time to just make it as great as I want it because I'm a perfectionist. But the genetics, the robots, all of those things will be game changers in that regard. And then on the Boptimizer front, so since I'm assuming it's mostly a male audience, we have, okay, I can't overhype this. This is one of those things
Something's
where
coming, guys.
I can't really overhype it. In terms of sexual enhancement products that are good for you, and I need to be careful for legal reasons, I can't really
Sure.
I can't compare it to pharmaceuticals, but if you were, I'll just say that, I mean, it's 5 days. It's 5 days and no side effects. So yeah, that's just been, we're just continuing to tweak it, but that's a game changer.
I love
We're
it.
working on a whole
Well,
male
yeah.
hormonal stock as well. Go ahead.
Well, no, I thought you were going to move past that. Yeah, that's a huge subject that I like to open the conversation about. Right? We know like the two biggest taboo subjects in our society are sex and money, and no one fucking talks about them. And most people's problems in their relationships come from both of those things, if not one of those things. Like if you have a long-term partnership, someone's dissatisfied sexually, or lack of funds, or the wife spending too much money, or whatever, or him spending too much time making it, ends a lot of relationships. I love to talk on these subjects as much as possible. So back to the point I was making, where when I was in high school, I was taking Adderall all the time, and I had a girlfriend in high school. And I don't know if you guys know how amphetamines affect your erections, but you just don't have a normal erection with amphetamine. So you might get aroused and then it would just like go away. And I was super insecure about that. And sexual insecurity can fuck you up as a man.
Mhm.
And so it's like for men, like I'm not sure the product you're hinting at, but I'm assuming it's going to be something that's similar to a little blue pill. And yeah,
It's
if
so
it's something
so
that's going to make you feel better sexually, guys, like even if it's not Matt's product, like anything you can do in a man's world to increase sexual performance, whether that's breath work, orgasm control, cardiovascular activity, that makes your life that much better. And especially if you have a partner, especially partners that you want to be with for a long time, like definitely take the time to make sure that sex is not you got lucky because she gave you a gift. It should be both of you getting lucky because you're both having an amazing experience together. And that way both people are always wanting to do it when the moment arises, versus like how sex is seen, where it's like men watch porn and they learn to treat sex how that is on porn. And so they have sex with the woman and she gets almost nothing out of it. And that's where this whole he got lucky thing comes from, because she gives him this thing and is like, no, it should be a roller coaster ride for you both, you know? So I'll let you take what you're going to say.
a man's erection quality will peak typically in their teen years. And very few men ever hit let's call it 100% erection hardness as they get older, right? What happens is every year there's a slight decrease in hardness that occurs, and it's just aging. A lot of it's just calcium accumulation in the shaft, which, by the way, one of the best techs, and just it definitely works. There's Gains Wave, which are clinics that they'll just literally blast your shaft and get rid of a lot of the calcification. And then there's the Phoenix, which you can buy, which is a lot less expensive. So I endorse either or of those. I think as you get older, that's a great strategy. And some people, of course, if you're unhealthy, the decrease over time gets faster and faster. And that's why a lot of men have erectile dysfunction. And once your erectile quality gets 70% or below, you're dealing with a limp noodle, right? Obviously, limp noodles don't work very well. So anything you can do to optimize, and let's say you're in the 80s, if you go from the 80s to 90s or low 90s to high 90s, I mean, it'll transform your performance. You know?
Yeah. And he means quality, not age. At first I thought you were talking about age there, but yeah, exactly. I do think that all the time. Like the movement, the optimization movement, right? Guys, like clean up your diet, clean up your cardio, clean up your system, and your sex life will improve as a result. And obviously there's levers you can pull if you've done the natural remedies first. But I definitely think, and obviously like we've gotten to very open podcast topics where we've had male and females on there, and we've heard the stories from women that are underwhelmed by males' performance. And it's like, obviously once you hear women speak like that, and then you think, oh shit, what if that was me they were talking about like that? Like, they can really mess with you. So it's like, just male sexual health is something that I think is under talked about for sure.
Women love hardness.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
that's a really important piece of that. So the harder you can be, typically the more you'll please your partner. So
Right. Exactly. And as for all we know, you'll most likely will hear a comment about that in the act. There'll be something said, right? So that's huge. I love that. I love that you guys are moving into that, and that's so unbelievably important. And it's a topic that a lot of people just don't speak on much, you know. And I've talked about it a lot because I struggled with that, like I said, from the Adderall in the high school. So it was until after, like, my personality and my male confidence didn't really emerge until I was like 24 after high school, and I'd found jujitsu, and because of jujitsu, I had some status, and so I was able to get a lot more girls that age. And then say, I'm like, wait,
well,
there's
plus the
nothing wrong with
confidence, right?
me.
The confidence,
Yeah,
yeah, from
confidence.
your skills. Yeah.
But then I was like, wait, there's nothing wrong with me. Like I thought there was. Like I had this big insecurity that I carried with me for a long time. And so I was like, wow, that's something that I'm so glad to have broken out of. And any little confidence thing that will anything that brings your confidence down, the faster you can address that, the better your life gets as a whole. Like we're saying with me and Matt, like being entrepreneurs, you've had entrepreneur success. I had a lot of success with jujitsu, and so that gave me confidence to approach entrepreneurship. And then I had several failures in entrepreneurship, and it's like now, kind of what you're saying, as you do it for a while, yeah, you go through all the hard shit, and the hard shit never stops. But it does get to the point where you're like, as long as you have some money tucked away, you're like, hey, like I'll figure it out. Like I'm not gonna one thing did, I'm good. I'm not gonna lose my house, and everything's fine, and we'll figure out the next move. You have this confidence. No, hey, I've done it once. Like I have the framework, and you meet a lot of people and you realize a lot of people just give up as soon as shit gets hard. And I know that's not me. So I'm always going to be fine. Dana White had that famous quote he did on Grant Cardone's podcast. I don't know if you saw this, and it's been an audio you see on Instagram a lot, but it's Dana White just going, listen, if you're just a fucking savage, man,
Yeah,
he's like, you can run all these kids over. He's like, everyone's so lazy to give up so quick. He's like, if you're just a determined savage, you're going to win. And I do believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Our big release is going to be our nutrition book. It's called The Ultimate Nutrition Bible, published by Hay House. Going to be released in September.
That's dope.
We've been working on this for 3 years. Initial draft was 800 pages. If you're a fan of like a Tim Ferriss book, that's what this is. Okay. It's the ultimate nutrition.
You can have it on audio as well.
Yeah, we're gonna do an audio book.
Yeah. You got to do Audible at this point. It's almost required nowadays,
Yeah, it's huge.
Almost, and I hate to say this, if I hear about a book on a podcast, and I'm a huge reader nowadays as a listener, but if I hear about a book and I look it up on Audible and it's not there, I'm just like, not gonna happen, bro. I don't have the bandwidth anymore to sit still and read because my daughter's gonna come up to me or someone's gonna need me. I can't really get alone where I can read, but I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving, when I'm on my walks, when I'm out. I can always crunch books, on the audio.
Oh, that's the way. Plus you can listen to 2-3x speed and just consume a lot of information.
I heard a hack that I've tried a couple times. I'm not sure how real it is. So what I have here are like some of the most impactful books that I've read. I have them here because I reference them sometimes. But you listen to the book and audio at 2 times the speed as you visually follow the words with the pages. And you're supposed to retain a lot better like that.
Yeah, that's a legit. So do you know who Rich Sheffrin is, by the way?
I don't think so.
Okay. He's an OG in the marketing space. So Rich showed me his technique. He would listen to books at 6x speed. So he would jailbreak. I got to be careful here. He would take books. Let me rephrase it. He would take books and then have a visual tool. There was software he had that would read and highlight the word at 6x speed while he was doing cardio. I did it for a while. I mean, it's really intense. I mean, at 6x, like your brain has to be.
Yeah. It's not coherent words anymore, right? It's just like sounds.
It sounds, but because you're seeing it, you're making sense of it. I mean, if you're not seeing it, you can't make sense of it, right?
Right. Yeah, there's something visual about seeing it and hearing it, right? Fast.
Yeah, it's a great strategy. It's legit.
Yeah, I love that. I love little hacks like that, man. Simple little hacks that can just change the game for you. And I think audiobooks has been one of the biggest things for me ever. Like, I just was never the type of person that would sit still with ADHD in me, right? Kind of what we were saying earlier, like I just can't. I'm a very physical person. I need to be doing something. So the audiobook fits really well in that, and I actually explained this to some friends earlier. I like to leave. I listen to my music when I'm working out or when I'm around the house, but when I'm driving, it's always audiobooks for me. And that kind of keeps me calm while I'm driving because now I'm no longer like amped up by hard beats. So I'm not like stressed about the road, the traffic. And I just use that car time as like mental time.
Yeah.
Like a little hack,
I need music for weightlifting, and then for cardio, books are awesome,
Yeah. I love it. Well, dude, that's amazing. I love to pick your brain a little bit. We'll definitely have to do it again as we get some new products out and as we come up. But that's been awesome. I hope we get some real value from that today. And I'm gonna absolutely hit you up for some more College Genius. I need to get on that. Guys, as you saw, I'm sure you already saw our ad, but code Salazar on Nootopia. I would highly recommend this product. As you probably already saw, it's something that I'm passionate about, as well as all Biooptimizer's products. And Matt, where can they find you at, man, if they want to get some more insight from you?
Yeah, I actually created a blog a few years ago. I haven't updated in a long time, but there's a lot of timeless information as well as a whole book on productivity. It's just mattgallant.tv. I have like an 82-page book that I recommend anybody who's doing anything entrepreneurial reads, because you're truly mastering your ability to create high impact output is the name of the game. So mastering your time, mastering what you're doing, mastering intensity. That's how you get it done.
Love it, man. So hey, a couple rapid fire exit questions. What was the biggest benefit that you've experienced from failure in your life?
So one of the principles of the SEAL that I train with is there's no failure, there's only stopping. So I've hardwired that into my nervous system. Like, I don't see, it's just data. I don't see any experience that's just not the result I wanted is data. And I heard a great saying the other day from a friend of mine. He's like, yeah, failure is just God telling you there's a better way.
Mhm. Improvement. I love it. That kind of leads into our second question, which is, why do you think that so many people do fail when they start an entrepreneurship journey?
I mean, the short answer is there's just not at the level they need to be at that moment. So I would say I think one of the most powerful transformative forces is feedback loops. And you want to be embracing and creating environments of feedback loops, whether it's mentors. I mean, an Aura Ring's a feedback loop, Fitbits, all these devices obviously give you biological feedback. Neurofeedback is a feedback loop. But from a life perspective, if you don't have people, mentors, coaches, business partners, consultants, whatever, all of those that are giving you feedback, and if you're not looking for feedback, you're being maladaptive. People that don't make it are maladaptive, which means their ability to process data, aka failure, and make the proper adjustments aren't there. And that's true in sports, it's true in business. So you want to be as hyper adaptive as humanly possible. And the way to do that is first embrace it. And a lot of people get scared. They're scared of feedback. They're scared of looking within. But if you just look within with an open heart, open mind, and just say, I'm going to face whatever's in there, and you might need some warrior spirit, but just summon it. Go train some jujitsu, go do some self-defense, build some warrior spirit, and build those feedback loops, and
Dude,
success is
phenomenal
inevitable.
answer. Phenomenal answer. And the last one, it's a special question for you because I think it's appropriate. If you had to only take one supplement for the rest of your life and you couldn't take many, you had to just pick one, and salt doesn't count here, which would it be?
Wow. Magnesium breakthrough.
Love it.
Yeah.
And
I think managing your nervous system. So this is really a key point just to wrap up on this. Like, so as an entrepreneur, first you start managing your time. That's kind of like level one, right? You master that. You get good at scheduling and meetings and all that stuff. The next level is like managing energy. And as you get into your 30s and 40s and beyond, managing energy is critical. In your 20s, you don't need to care about that. You can just go. There's only one speed, right? I think as you get the next level after that's managing your nervous system and really learning to, again, stay in that optimal zone we talked about earlier. And that's why Magnesium Breakthrough is such a great product, because I know for me, it's just been a life changer.
Yeah, I take it nightly. I'm not sure if I should be dosing differently, but I take that product before bed.
Yes on that. And then you can try taking like one early afternoon. And by the way, one mag breakthrough with the nootropics, it changes it. It's
All right.
like a compressor where things like, I'll try an ultimate focus and a magnesium breakthrough. It actually might completely change your
Yeah,
experience of it. So
I love it. We should definitely chat too about coming up with a jiu-jitsu stack. I
yeah.
think that's something that, like, that originally, that was when I wanted to start my own supplement line. That was my I did samples of pre-workouts for jiu-jitsu specifically. They called it 8 limbs pre-flow, and I want it to be a pre-jiu-jitsu pre-workout. It's very different than the demands of everything else, and we did a lot of different formulations. It was like $800 a pop to get three little containers made, samples. I don't know if I was getting ripped off or not, but I did a couple times, tried it out. But yeah, that's a market that I still don't see much in. And I think there's millions of people that are obsessed with jiu-jitsu at this point, and it's a good market. So hopefully we see something down the road from you guys in that.
Awesome.
Guys, go check them out. Gallant, Biooptimize, and Nootopia. You're going to be, I'll see them tagged below. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Keep crushing it, guys.
Thanks.